Good morning, everybody. My name is Del Spafford and I'm the Regional Teacher Trainer and Academic Consultant for Macmillan Education. So today we are having a webinar called Communication Revisited. How can I effectively engage my students and encourage communication? Well, we're going to look at 5 key areas of engagement, and we're going to map these to one of our adult or young adult courses called Speak Your Mind. Those 5 key areas that I'm going to address today are: number 1, brain breaks. We're going to look at how brain breaks can re-stimulate our students and keep them on track. We're going to also look at setting goals and how setting goals can be important, not only to engage students, but to also motivate them and keep them on track throughout their studies. We're going to look at mixing up the delivery of content, and I'm going to show you some ideas of how you can change the way that you deliver the content of the course to the students. We're going to look at personalization and the importance of personalization when it comes to engagement, but also, again, that keyword of motivation. And we're going to look at how we can create some shared spaces online so that students who are studying online or studying even face-to-face can effectively engage with each other and stimulate communication outside of the classroom as well as inside. So, whether you're teaching online or face-to-face, I hope that you will get some ideas from today's session that will help you engage your students and encourage communication. So grab a cup of tea, cup of coffee, and I will be with you in a few minutes. See you soon. Good morning, everybody. My name is Del Spafford and I'm the Regional Teacher Trainer and Academic Consultant for Macmillan Education. So today we are having a webinar called Communication Revisited. How can I effectively engage my students and encourage communication? Well, we're going to look at 5 key areas of engagement, and we're going to map these to one of our adult or young adult courses called Speak Your Mind. Those 5 key areas that I'm going to address today are: number 1, brain breaks. We're going to look at how brain breaks can re-stimulate our students and keep them on track. We're going to also look at setting goals and how setting goals can be important, not only to engage students, but to also motivate them and keep them on track throughout their studies. We're going to look at mixing up the delivery of content, and I'm going to show you some ideas of how you can change the way that you deliver the content of the course to the students. We're going to look at personalization and the importance of personalization when it comes to engagement, but also, again, that keyword of motivation. And we're going to look at how we can create some shared spaces online so that students who are studying online or studying even face-to-face can effectively engage with each other and stimulate communication outside of the classroom as well as inside. So, whether you're teaching online or face-to-face, I hope that you will get some ideas from today's session that will help you engage your students and encourage communication. So grab a cup of tea, cup of coffee, and I will be with you in a few minutes. See you soon. Good morning, everybody. My name is Del Spafford and I'm the Regional Teacher Trainer and Academic Consultant for Macmillan Education. So today we are having a webinar called Communication Revisited. How can I effectively engage my students and encourage communication? Well, we're going to look at 5 key areas of engagement, and we're going to map these to one of our adult or young adult courses called Speak Your Mind. Those 5 key areas that I'm going to address today are: number 1, brain breaks. We're going to look at how brain breaks can re-stimulate our students and keep them on track. We're going to also look at setting goals and how setting goals can be important, not only to engage students. Good morning, everybody. Can you all hear me and see me okay? If you can hear me and see me okay, can you tell me where you are? So can you tell me the town or the city and the country that you are in? So for example, I am in Nonthaburi in Thailand. Uttaradit, very nice. Okay, Jakarta. Okay, or Miss Jakarta. Chonburi, good. Ho Chi Minh City, Nha Trang, Yangon from Myanmar, great stuff. Bang Sen, okay. Yogyakarta, Yangon, Peru. Wow, hi Julio from Peru. That's probably the furthest so far. We've got a couple of people from Peru. That's wonderful. Thank you very much for coming. Yangon, oh, I miss going to Yangon. I miss all of these places, and hopefully next year, when we have a vaccine, we'll be able to visit you face to face. So welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for giving up your time this morning. We really do appreciate it. And I realize that we have a lot of online sessions available to teachers around the world. So we're really grateful that you've chosen today to join our session on Communication Revisited. How can I engage my learners effectively and encourage communication? So as I said in my introductory video, my name is Del. I work for Macmillan Education. I'm based here in Bangkok, Thailand. Actually, I just live just outside of Bangkok and I'm working from home, which I imagine quite a few of you are doing as well. And my job is to go around the region, both online and offline in the past, to meet teachers just like yourself, and to help them use materials and help them with their teaching and provide support, academic support to teachers. So if I have met you before, then hello again. And if I haven't met you face to face, I hope that I will do in the future. So a little bit about Macmillan Education and who we are, in case you don't know who we are. So we've been working with educators, working with teachers like yourselves for over 175 years. We're a very old company, established publisher, world-leading publisher. We work with teachers across the globe. Some of you might be using our material already, and hopefully in the future you will be using our material if you're not using it now. Now we work in 3 key areas, and those key areas are ELT and international, or what we call curriculum. So schools that are teaching both maybe science and maths and literacy programs. ELT obviously is English language teaching. And then we work in higher education as well, working with colleges and universities. And we have these 3 key areas: connect and accelerate. So we want to build our partners' knowledge about teaching. We want to develop innovative products and create new solutions for teachers, which has been something we're looking at this year with this the new ways of working that we're establishing, and also supporting you and hopefully inspiring you as teachers. And hopefully this session today will provide you with some inspiration, even if it's just a little bit. A little bit is more than nothing. So hopefully you'll be inspired and you'll get some ideas moving forward with your teaching. So today's session asks a question. Oh, actually, just before we move on, just before we go anywhere, just let me tell you about a few technical issues, just in case. If anything shuts down, we should be fine. I've got 2 computers running, so you'll see there are, excuse me, there are two presenters in my name, so we should be fine. But if my internet goes down for any reason, we have Daisy in China who will be able to come on and tell you some jokes and sing you a song if my internet goes down. So don't worry about that. We will be with you. Stay where you are, and we'll be with you as soon as we can. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. Okay, so today's session, we've got an hour. So I'm going to go a little bit quickly, but we will hopefully have some time at the end for questions. And I will also open the chat box or the question box now. So if you have any questions as you go through, you can ask the questions, but put them into the Q&A box that I've just opened now. So in the chat box, there's a Q&A mode. You can put your questions in there, and I will answer, hopefully, your questions at the end of the session. Or if there's a good time to answer the questions during the session, I will do as well. So the question that I asked was, how can I engage my learners effectively and encourage communication? Well, we're going to do this by looking at 5 key areas. And this is a question that I've been asked many times, both discussing this with teachers, discussing it with friends who are teachers, but also looking at feedback that we've received from previous sessions that we've done. This seems to be a key question, is engagement of learners while they're studying, particularly online, but also offline. Oh, I say offline, also face-to-face as well. So we're going to do this by looking at 5 key areas, and I'll tell you those 5 key areas in a moment, in case you didn't see the video. Now, we're going to map those key areas to one of our new titles, which is called Speak Your Mind. Now, Speak Your Mind is a 6-level course book. It's a general English course book designed for young adults to help them with communication skills. So the purpose of today's session, engagement and communication, should fit really nicely together. And hopefully you'll be excited by some of the ideas and also by some of the materials that I'm going to show you as well. So before we move on, I would just really like to know what group or what age group you are teaching at the moment. And I'm going to open a survey. So can you complete the survey for me? What age group do you teach? Now, the main age group, you might teach 2 different age groups, but give me the main age group of who you are teaching. I'll take a drink of water while we're doing that. All right, good. So we've got about just over half of you have contributed to the survey. So I'll give it maybe 20 more seconds, and then we'll have a look. And I'm looking in the chat box as well, and I can see lots of adult teachers. Hello, Jakarta. Nice to see you too. Okay, lovely. Okay, great. So we've got predominantly adults and young adult teachers, but also teachers who are teaching secondary, primary, and pre-primary, and non-teachers. So that's good to see. This session is as I said, is directed mainly at this young adult age group, but I will always say that a lot of these ideas, a lot of these thoughts that I've had about engagement can also be transferred or adapted for any level of teaching, actually, even down to pre-primary. So stick with us. If you're not teaching adults or young adults, don't go anywhere. You'll still be able to get some ideas, but you might have to think a little bit more about how you can adapt them. All right, so today's session, we're going to look at these 5 key areas. Now, these 5 key areas are brain breaks, so having brain breaks. We're going to look at setting goals. We're going to look at mixing up the delivery of our content, personalization, and creating a shared space. All right, so we're going to go through these 5 different areas, and we're going to, as I said, try and map these to some of the activities that you can see in Speak Your Mind, the course book that we're looking at. But also think about, if you're not using Speak Your Mind, then think about the material that you're using and how you can adapt this to your context as well. But hopefully this session will excite you regarding the Speak Your Mind product, and you'll want to move on to this. So the first thing we're going to look at are brain breaks. Now, hopefully this looks like your brain, but maybe not as hot as this, but you get the idea that this brain is alive and it's stimulated. That's the word I'm looking for. It's stimulated. So I think for me, the key to engagement and communication is being present. It's being in the moment. And when we communicate, we also have to listen, right? And this, when you're studying online or when you're teaching online, or as I'm presenting now online, one of the things that I really miss is that two-way communication. And it causes a lot of fatigue for the presenter. I'm sure any of you who have been teaching online have been surprised at how exhausting it can sometimes be talking to that small little dot in the screen and really not getting the feedback that you normally receive from a face-to-face class. Your students will feel the same. It's very easy when you're teaching online to daydream and to be distracted. The teacher cannot see whether you're looking at another website whilst you're supposed to be teaching. You can split the screen in half. You can be very distracted whilst you're studying online. And the same goes for us as teachers as well. But what we need to do is liven up our students sometimes and re-stimulate them to get them motivated, to get them focusing on the lesson at hand. And a key way of doing this is to use what we call brain breaks. So brain breaks I put into two key areas. So the two key areas of brain breaks for me are livening up students, so doing something physical to get them moving, to get the blood flowing in their bodies, and also activities that calm students down. So if you're in a face-to-face class and you've just done you've got a group of adult students and they're moving around and they're doing a mill drill, they're talking to each other, finding a new partner, talking to each other, and then they want to come back together and relax, then we can do an activity to bring people, to relax people, to do maybe some meditation or something like that. Now, we normally associate brain breaks, which when I'm looking online, I've seen lots of information about brain breaks, and they're normally associated with primary, with pre-primary, as I can see in the chat box there. But for me, and from my own experience as an adult learning online and also presenting online, is I need brain breaks myself. So they shouldn't be just focused on pre-primary and primary, but let's expand them to our adult classes as well. With adults, we can get them to choose their own brain breaks. We don't need to prescribe the brain breaks to them. And that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to make it more inclusive. With the session today, we're only here for an hour, so we don't need really a brain break in the middle. You guys can focus for an hour, I am sure. But we will do a brain break at the end of the session, just to bring everything together. So what I want you to do is I would like you to contribute to our brain breaks. So I've created a Google document, which you can see here. Now, let me just share my screen here. So I'm just checking that you've got this. Okay, so you can see my my Google document with the brain breaks that I've already given. I've already started. I've done 5 for you here. So we've got do 10 star jumps. We've got breathe in deeply for 6 seconds. So there you've got 2 examples. You've got one that's energetic, star jumps, and you've got one that brings people down, that relaxes people, breathing deeply. So we've got 2 different kinds. But I'll give you 5 examples. So through the session this morning, what I would like you to do is add to our list of brain breaks. We've got lots of gaps here to be filled. So if you can help me and fill in these gaps as we go through, I'd be very grateful. Then at the end of the session, let me just come back to the presentation. At the end of this session, we will use a We'll Decide. Let me just pull up my screen, sorry. At the end of the session, we will use a program called We'll Decide, and we will choose one of the selections and we will complete that brain break ourselves. If you want to write your name, you can, but that is optional. It's up to you. If you want to write your name, do so. If you want to keep it anonymous, entirely up to you. So here we go. Here's the link to the document. And I'm just going to go back to the document and check that you have access to the document. So give me a second just to check that. Okay, there's no one accessing it just yet, so I'm just going to give you a couple more minutes, or a couple more seconds, and maybe I need to reshare the document. How are you getting on? Can you access that document fine? Okay, lovely. So start typing your ideas. And as I said, I'm going to keep this document open for the whole session. So think about your ideas and type them into the document. And I will check halfway through to see how many we have already. Okay, let's keep going. So our second item on our agenda is to set some goals. Now, goals for me are super important in my own personal life, as well as my teaching, my career. And I think they're really important for students as well in order to keep them engaged and motivated. So what kind of goals, can you just let me know in the chat box, what kind of goals do we normally have? Think about yourself. What goals do you have? No, don't tell me the specific goal that you have, but think about the kind of goals that people might have. So we have career goals, of course, and then within those career goals, what kind of goals do we have? Okay. Nice, Kim. Getting promotion. I'm going to tell your boss. That's great news. Reading every day. Okay, good. Hi, Julia. What kind of goals do you have? Heidi. Okay, right. My high salary. Good. All right. Uh-huh. Okay. Good. Okay. So you're giving some goals there. Travel around the world. That's a really nice goal. Inspirational teacher, professional development. Okay. So these are really nice goals. But what I was kind of looking at, and what I want you to maybe try and do now, is put those goals into these three areas of goals. All right. So we've got these three areas. We've got short-term goals, we've got mid-term goals, and we've got long-term goals. So for example, getting a promotion, is that a short-term, a mid-term, or a long-term goal? Think about that. Having fun with students, is that short-term, mid-term, long-term, or is it just a general goal that is there every single day? So I think that this speaks for itself. Having a short-term, a mid-term, and a long-term goal speaks for itself. But I'm going to talk about this in more detail about what I think constitutes a short-term, a mid-term, and a long-term goal. Let's have a look at short-term goals. Now, short-term goals I see as being our daily goals. All right. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have got one of these. It's a little band that you put on your wrist, and it tells you how many steps you've done in a day. These are really cool because they cut you off and you have to start your goal again. All right. So it really keeps you motivated to do those steps. I have a number of steps that I have to do every day. And if I don't do those steps, I feel pretty bad about myself. All right. So I'm motivated to do them. And then it cuts me off and I start again. Every day I have this goal. It's something that I have to do. It's very motivating. So we should try and create these goals for our students within the class. So these will come from you a lot of the times in terms of your lesson aims, all right? Now, goals need to be specific. For example, if I go back to my watch and I say, I'm going to walk today, all right? That could mean I get up from my computer, I walk to the bathroom, and then I walk back to my computer. I've achieved my goal, I've walked, all right? No, I haven't. I haven't achieved my goal at all. We need to think more specifically about how our goals. Now, when we come to our lesson aims, which will be our goals for our students, we need to think carefully. For example, if I'm teaching the present perfect, my lesson goal might be, today we will study the present perfect. Now, is that an effective lesson aim? Is that an effective goal for the lesson? What do you think? Today we will study the present perfect. What do you think about that as an aim? It's too general. I agree. Good morning, everybody who's coming in. We're talking about goals, short-term goals. It's not meaningful, yes. So it's too general. A SMART goal, good, yes. So somebody there has obviously studied this kind of goal orientation before using the acronym SMART, which is specific, measurable, achievable, I forget about the R, and time-bound as well. Can you just let me know what the R is again? But yeah, this kind of goal, today we will study the present perfect, is too general. So think about this as a comparison. At the end of the lesson, time-bound, okay, students will leave looking at it from the student's point of view, not from the teacher's point of view, but from the student's point of view. Students will leave having practiced the present perfect for experience, more specific. Present perfect has a number of different ways of use. One of them is to talk about experience. One of them is to talk about the results of a past action, having a relevance to the present. At present, but I'm not going to teach you the grammar now, but we're making it specific. And understand how the present perfect is constructed. So we're also talking about the nuts and bolts of the grammar, how we formulate the grammar. And then finally, one of our goals, one of our aims, students will be able to ask and respond to questions about each other's experience. So there is the test of understanding, the test of use, and a way of checking whether we have actually achieved our goals, okay? So think about your aims of your lesson as being the aims of your students and the goals, the short-term goals of your students in that lesson. Don't think about what you're going to do. Think about what your students are going to do and what they need to do to achieve that, and that is their goal. We also have some really cool on-the-go practice. So let's go to learning journals. Students can also complete a learning journal at the end of the lesson, recording new vocabulary and recording new language. They could have a target of new words that they have to record into their learning journal. And also they can write down those learning goals so that they can reflect upon them in their learning journals. This is really, really useful for students to reflect and be able to check their sense of progress. We can complete this on-the-go practice. On-the-go practice is included into Speak Your Mind, and this is an app that we use that helps students to consolidate the language that they've learned when they're not in the classroom. So if they're learning online, this is a really great tool for them to consolidate that learning. If they're learning face-to-face, then this is great for them as an extra practice that they can use maybe on the way to the class. They're on the bus, in a taxi, they can open up their phones and they can do this on-the-go practice. Let me show you an example. So I need to share my screen again, one moment. So let me just check you can see that on my screen below. Okay, lovely. So on-the-go practice is part of the package that comes with the student book. So the students will have a code that they scratch off and they can then get access to all this lovely extra resources. And I'm going to show you on-the-go practice today. So here we can see, just skip through that. So here we see all the units of the Speak Your Mind Level 2, and students will click on it and they will have to download it initially, and then they will have access to these activities. So they have vocabulary activities, they have grammar activities. So let me just show you an example of a vocab activity.
It's the best role she's ever played. She's a fantastic actress.
So here they're checking their listening skills and also typing in the missing word that they've learned during the lesson, okay? Everything that they do is recorded and can be monitored. If you look at the bottom of the screen, it says progress. It can be monitored and checked by the student and also the teacher. The teacher can set up a class and then can access the students' records to see how they're getting on with the on-the-go practice. Here's an example of the grammar. So the grammar practice, let me just wait till that pops up. And in the grammar practice, the students are looking at a picture and they're putting sentences in the correct order. So really cool, nice, clean, modern activities for students to practice. Okay, I'm just going back to the chat box. All right. I'm just checking that you can see that okay. And then the last thing that they will do is this review. And what I really wanted to show you this review, which is a speaking activity. And in the speaking activity, the students, I think we're having a few problems showing you this for some reason, of sharing the screen. Yeah, I think there's a couple of issues here with sharing the, for some reason it's not allowing me to share the screen. But let me just talk to you about that. So the cool thing about the on-the-go practice is that the students can record their voice, watch a video, get ideas from the video, see a model, and then record their voice, and this will be sent to the teacher for the teacher to mark according to a criteria that is already there for students. So if they answer the question, they get a mark. If they answer the question in a full sentence, they get 2 marks. And if they answer a question and add more information, they get 3 marks. But what's really cool is that it gets sent to the teacher. The teacher can actually access the students' work through the on-the-go app. So it's not just a case of doing the activities, checking the answers, moving on. There's actually accountability, and teachers and students can monitor the progress. It's really cool, motivating and engaging extra practice for students to do. And then the last part, I've got send a message to a classmate. This is really important, I think, particularly if you're teaching adult students. It builds that communication between students. You need to pair students up, all right? So if you're teaching online, you'll pair them up in your Zoom classroom or whatever platform you're using, and you need to check that students know who they're working with, all right? That's the first most important thing. And you need to check that they have each other's telephone numbers, etc., or line contact details, or WhatsApp, whatever app you're using, so they can contact each other. You can even do this on Facebook, of course. And then you will be sending, or they will be asked to send each other a message. So this message could be scaffolded by the teacher, and it would be linked to the work that you're doing in the class. So for example, here we have the first page, the unit opener of the student book, and it says, who are you? And it says, think of words. Let me just pull mine up. Think of words you know that describe you, and then write the words. So a student might be allocated to write to somebody else, and they will say, hi Pop, it was great to work with you today. I think you are funny, kind, and clever. All right, and then Pop will write back to the partner and add something else, and hopefully this communication will develop. Now, I will say that this is only really useful for young adults and adults who don't need to get any protection, any child protection issues with sharing telephone numbers with each other or any group information. Okay, you probably couldn't do this in primary because you wouldn't want students contacting each other without any parental guidance. But as we're talking about adults, then this is fine. But what they might need is the stimulation from you as a teacher to give them the ideas of how they communicate with each other outside of the classroom. And then from that, hopefully this stimulates a bigger conversation. And the only rule is they're only allowed to speak English or write in English. The communication, as we know, could be through text, or it could even through a voice text, a voicemail. It's up to them how they do it, but encourage them, and use the activities in the book to encourage you how to get students to communicate outside of the classroom. Midterm goals. We're looking here now at weekly and monthly goals. Now, what's cool about Speak Your Mind is that we have the goals already there for you. So let me just see if my sharing the screen will help you see that. So I'm going to pull up a page of Speak Your Mind and give you another example. And like I will see the top of my head, I will just check to see if you can see my screen. Okay, lovely. So this is called Get to Work, and this is the unit opener. Really bright, exciting, interesting, and stimulating for students. But this key area at the bottom that doesn't look too bright or interesting is actually really cool. Let me just pull it up. And this is your midterm goals. It's written from the point of view of the students. So in terms of the midterm goals, they're all done for you. What's really cool about this initiative, if you like, is that students can read these goals, they can work through them as they go through the unit, and then they're encouraged at the end of the unit to go back and reflect and check, and also to add more vocabulary to the first activity here. So here they're writing in vocabulary at the start. So they're thinking about what they already know. And then at the end of the unit, they go back and they fill it in with more words to show that sense of progress that students need. So there's your midterm goals, all taken care of for you within the student's book itself. Now I can see some questions coming in, but I'm going to keep going. I want to address them at the end of this session. So please keep your questions coming. And don't worry if I'm not answering them just yet. I will do my best to answer them at the end. We then look at long-term goals. So long-term goals are our termly goals, or even further down the line. If you're teaching at university, you might have students that you see for over a number of years. So they're going to have different goals. Obviously, one of the goals will be ending up with their degree at the end of their study. And this will be something that these short-term and mid-term goals will all feed into this long-term goal. Now, if you're thinking about termly goals, so reading a reader, for example, is a useful termly goal, and then completing a book report about it to show accountability. There might be a researching a topic to produce a presentation, or presenting a for and against argument on a topical subject. Now, these two, researching and presenting, doing a presentation, could form part of your assessment. So a formative assessment over the term could be part of what you would normally do in the class itself or throughout that term. And I'll show you how we can do that here. So in every unit, or every even unit of Speak Your Mind, we have this section called Follow a Pro. And this is a really cool section where it finishes at the end with a video, a documentary video about a person in a certain profession. So what we can do is we can adapt this and use this as part of our presentation. So students might choose a particular profession that they want to maybe go into and use these questions to formulate their own ideas about what they need to do, what the skills they need, what kind of things that would help them, benefit them if they want to go into this profession, and then do a presentation on this. You can also use this as a tool for communication between all of the students working together and formulating ideas as a group before then taking all those ideas and bringing it to your own feelings, which is what we should be doing in our lives anyways, looking at all different kinds of opinions and ideas and then formulating our own opinions from that. So it's a really useful life skill as well. We also have in the, this would be perfect for someone who's getting ready to go into work. So job readiness is what we call it, or somebody who's already in work. And then if we're thinking about our students at university, we have these really cool study skills lessons that are part of every odd unit. And here we have pros and cons about studying certain majors. And students can then maybe do a for and against essay or a for and against presentation. And again, use this as an assessment tool. We also have these really cool make it happen boxes, which encourage students to go outside of the lesson, outside of the classroom, and look at other ideas, and again, get other information before presenting their own ideas. Now, I can see there's a bit of a conversation going on in the chat box. Let me just go back and have a little look. Okay, I think I don't need to jump on. You're kind of having a lively conversation there, so I'm very happy for you to continue your conversation in the chat box. Keep it going. That seems great. Please, while I've just stopped there, don't forget. Let me just check my Google Doc and see if anyone's added. No one has added any brain breaks yet. Can you please add a brain break for me? So we've got some brain breaks, some ideas of brain breaks. Let me post the link in the chat box again for you there. Add them to the Google document in this document here, please. I can't go through the chat box, so add them to the document here. Click on the link, open up the Google Doc, and add your ideas. Or maybe I need to refresh, Nicola. Thank you. Possibly that is the case. Oh, okay. Thank you. I do apologize. I just needed to refresh my my page. Thank you very much for letting me know. Cool. Keep going then. Add some more to the chat box as we are going through. Great stuff. Okay. Well, next thing we're going to look at is mixing up our delivery, the content of our delivery. Now, this is a really key area for engagement. There's loads and loads of different ways we can mix up our lessons without doing too much hard work. All right. So thinking about teaching face-to-face or teaching online, you need to make it lively. You need to change it. You can't just open the course book, even though the course book is fantastic, but your students are going to get bored if it's just open the book and do the same thing, working through the book, finish a unit and continue. We need to mix it up. We need to change the delivery. We need to give people choice. We need to give people a reason for them to come. So let's look at how we can do that. So I've got a couple of ideas. One is to utilize the videos. So the videos are really great, as I said, in the course book itself. We have two different kinds. We've got a documentary one here called Follow a Pro, and we've got these vlogs, which address our Speak Your Mind question. These vlogs are fantastic because what they do is they provide a model and they provide a for and against argument to a question that is asked. So I think the question here, we can't see it, but I think it says, are you talented? And these two are talking about whether they're talented or not. And then students can watch this and decide if they agree with the lady or if they agree with the man, and then they can formulate their own ideas. It's a really great way of giving students a model. It's very short. It's about 2 minutes long, so it engages students, but it doesn't go over that attention span that students have a lower attention span these days. So it helps with that. And the videos are very modern and slick and up to date. Also, you can make your own videos, and there's a picture of me having made my own video a couple of weeks ago. The video I put on at the start of the session today took about 2 minutes. It only took the time it took to sort of prepare what I was going to say and then deliver what I was going to say. If I thought about it and had more time, I might have even added it to a program like Edpuzzle and then added some questions that students watch the video and then it stops, they answer a question, and then they move on. There's loads of programs like this that you can use to really use video effectively with your classes. make sure you utilize the video that you already have. Another way of delivering content differently is looking at instructions. Now, often we stand in front of the class and we deliver instructions to our students, and we check the instructions, and then we get an example, and we ask them to practice, and we check it. We spend a lot of time doing this. So think about how you can maybe deliver the instructions using text. Send it to them if you're teaching online. Send it to them, let them have a look at it beforehand, and then when they come back, check the instructions once and then move on with the activity. Saves you a bit of time. In your classroom, you might want to just print out the instructions and give them to the students so that they can refer to them as they're doing the activity. We also have an opportunity here to let our students decide if they want to do reading activities or listening activities. Nowadays, all of the reading activities, or in Speak Your Mind, all the reading activities can be listened to. So students can have an opportunity to select what they want to do, if it's a reading or a listening. And then we also have a PowerPoint here. And I wanted to just bring this to your attention, just to make your PowerPoints, if you are using PowerPoint, to make them attractive, vary the transitions, vary the way that you animate your PowerPoints, and keep students on their toes. Ask them, do you think the next page is going to come from the left? Is it going to come from the right? Is it going to come from above or below? You're practicing kind of prepositions of place possibly as well, or even directions, that kind of thing. I'm just thinking about that on the top of my head there. So make sure you vary those as well. I can't use PowerPoint because my platform doesn't allow PowerPoint. But if it does, then please make sure you vary that up. And then finally, with mixing up delivery, why not bring someone into your lesson? It's particularly online. It's so easy now. You can invite someone to your lesson and say, hey, can you just come and talk to my students for a few minutes or read this out for me? And then you can, if you work in a teacher's room, you can share, you can team up with each other and return the favor. It changes the dynamic. It changes the accent for the students to listen to. If you're working face-to-face, get one of the teachers in who's not teaching at the moment. Get them to read out a listening activity for your students to listen to. Change it up. Here we have John, who's my colleague in Shanghai. He's my boss. He's on leave at the moment, so he didn't record a lovely video for me today to talk to you. But normally, with a session like this, he would record himself talking about an aspect of this, and it would change up the dynamic of the presentation. We have these really cool tools called Miro and Padlet, which I'm going to look at in a minute, which will show you how we can collaborate outside of the classroom as well. And then we have, obviously, these tools that you've seen before, I'm sure, Poll Everywhere, Mentimeter, SurveyMonkey, where you can develop or change the way that you ask questions to your students to make it more engaging, more stimulating, and possibly more communicative as well. Moving on quickly, what the time is going, always goes so quickly, the time when you're doing online presentations. I do apologize if you feel I'm going a bit quick, but there's a bit to get through now. So personalization is our next area of engagement. And I'm going to ask you what kind of teacher you are when it comes to personalization. So are you A, B, C, or D? Or are you a mix of one or two of these? Okay, lots of D's coming in. That's good to see. B's and D's. No C's at the moment. That's good to see. I don't want to see any C's. But if you have got a C, then fine. Okay, lovely, lovely, lovely. B's and D's and some A's as well. So time is often a factor. And I think time, A and B kind of link together. If you've got a B, Or if you are a B, then you're definitely not going to be an A. So if we can find a B, a course book that helps you, then you'll be sound. So let's have a look at how we do this, or why we do this. So why do we do personalization? And I'll give you 30 seconds and you can read this. And I've highlighted in green a key element of this quote, if you like. It's from 1978, so it's probably before a lot of you were born, but it is still very relevant for today. The ideas here stand the test of time. And this part, let the students first discover what they can generate on the subject from their own personal thoughts and feelings, is key. It's called activating schemata, right? Finding out their prior knowledge. So let's have a look at how we do this with Speak Your Mind. So we actually address this specifically. It's not even something that we've just sort of thrown away, and we've actually thought about it here. You can see, what do you already know? We care about what the students already know before we actually teach them. And this is a kind of a test, teach, test approach. For you as a teacher, you're going to be thinking, okay, I've got to teach this new vocabulary. Maybe you've got 10 items of vocabulary, and you go into the class and you start teaching them, but the students already know it. What's the point of you actually teaching those 10 items of vocabulary? And you might as well not, because they already know. So this kind of gives us that idea, a test, teach, test. You find out what they know, and then you fill in the gaps, and then you test that they know all of the vocabulary that they're supposed to from that list of vocabulary. So this helps you as a teacher, but it also helps the students and gives them a sense of, again, a sense of progress, that they've already got something to bring to the lesson. In addition, we have these really cool vocabulary follow-up ideas, which are called Make It Yours. So these are highly personalized, and these address that issue of the course book being already personalized for your students. So here we have, at the end of every vocabulary lesson, a task that they must do in order to personalize the vocabulary that they're working on. And in addition to that, we have every lesson ends in a speaking activity. And these speaking activities are already highly personalized as well. So each lesson of the book ends in a speaking activity, personalized using the language and vocabulary from that lesson. And also there's scaffolding. So there's these confident communicator boxes here that provide you with the language, or provide the students with the language that they need to complete the activity. So communicate with each other. They're confident about it because they have the language, they have scaffolding, and it's highly personalized. So the engagement is there as well. Now let's look at collaboration, creating shared spaces where students can collaborate outside of the classroom. This is great for online teaching, but it's also great for face-to-face teaching as well. And I think something that I've learned from being online, the new skills that I've learned of presenting online and learning these new tools, is how we can apply it when we go back to face-to-face, and how the face-to-face teaching will become much more of a blended package, and how that is going to be essential for our learners moving forward. And this is a great way for blending those our lessons. So we're going to look at two platforms. One is called Miro, and one is called Padlet. And I'm just going to show you some platforms that I've created myself, and some kind of activities that you could do with students today to get them motivated to study outside of the classroom and communicate with each other. So let me share my screen with you one more time. And the first thing we'll look at is Miro. Now, Miro is an online whiteboard. Now, that's a little bit small, so let me just make that bigger for you. So here, hopefully, you can see, there we go. The platform, the whiteboard itself is huge. So you've got loads of space to add new things. You can have students going into the corner and adding their own ideas. They have their own little space. You can have different spaces for different groups, different boards for different classes. It's up to you how it's endless what you can do with this kind of thing. You can add videos, images. There's loads of stuff you can do, and it's, to an extent, it's free of charge. If you want to add other more exciting elements, you might need to subscribe. But for me, I haven't paid anything to create this. So what I've got is just some ideas here. So I've got an idea that you can use at the start of a course where you would introduce yourself to your class. So you would post a picture like this, and the students would write sentences about the picture. And the teacher would then highlight them to say if they're correct, or if they're incorrect, then create with a language mistake, or if they're just incorrect in terms of the actual context. So here you can see I've got 5 sentences about me, and the second sentence is incorrect. Obviously, I'm not a boxer. And students could then go on and try and change it. They can write over the top. It's a collaboration document. You can have class votes. These are really cool. So using the speak your mind question, am I typical or different? Students can then select and move the counters, red for the boys, green for the girls, or the men and the women, so that you can classify this information and build those 21st century skills by analyzing information through the students. You've got areas of creativity, such as acrostic poems. Here you've got my name, and I've got some adjectives to describe myself. I encourage my students to write their names and do the same kind of thing. And having this one space to do all this is really cool, because everybody's welcome. Everybody can add to it and can change it and can and give their own ideas and their opinions. The only thing that you have to be concerned about is fatigue. So you have to monitor all the time. You have to keep it fresh. You might have to archive things and add new ideas. You could play tic-tac-toe. You could do that, no problem. You can do lots of things with this, but you just need to make sure that students are using it. So that will be your job at the start, is to put the ideas up and then monitor, and then hopefully get students to add their own ideas. You can put your goals up. Now, the idea of going back to the goals, if you write your goals on here, they are accountable. Students can see my goals, they can see each other's goals, and they can talk about their goals. Maybe they have the same goals. They can talk to each other and look at ways that they can achieve their goals together. And I think this is a really nice way of bringing everybody together in a one shared space. So that's our Miro, which is, again, like I said, free of charge. And then we have our lovely, which a lot of you will have already seen, but I will show you, is our Padlet. So I'm just going to stop that and start again. Here we have our Padlet. Padlet, I think, is really great. It's so versatile. You can use it for many different things. It's all in one place. What I really like is the record feature in Padlet as well, and I'll show you that. So you've got here the information about me, similar kind of idea to what I showed you in Miro. And then we've got this pronunciation. So here I've got a list of vocabulary items. And what I've asked students to do is to put the words into question, or into a question. And then they're going to answer each other's questions. So I've recorded my voice here. Let me just turn the mic off. So I can do this. I can do this on the platform. I don't need any other software. I just click on the record button and then add my voice to the screen. And then students can, then I can add it to my homework page, where students can listen and answer the questions here. So my first question, what's your last name? Don't worry if you can't hear. It's basically me saying, what's your last name? I can then add, my last name is. So my students will be writing something different, of course, but I will be answering this. then that student will then answer will ask the questions and post their voice onto the screen, and another student will follow it up and answer the questions. We can also do things like this. So this is a picture outside my window, and I've given a description. These are really nice. This is a nice way to share things and write a description, and people can add comments to that. Google Maps is great. If you look at this link for Google Maps, you can see where I grew up, the town and the street where I grew up, and you can then ask me some questions about my childhood, getting to know each other a bit more. And then I can also add information. So here we have a blog that I've written about engaging students online that you can access. So I'm going to share that with you. Actually, you can all have a look at that yourself. And I'll put that into the chat box right now. So have a look. I don't mind if you change it, if you add things to it, that's up to you. It's our shared space. These shared spaces you're going to find really useful for engaging your students. If you can come up with new creative ideas that are attractive for students, they'll want to study outside of the classroom. They'll want to learn more, and hopefully they'll add a little bit about themselves, and we can get to know our students even more. Right, that kind of brings us full circle to our brain break. So let me go back to our document. Let me share my screen again, and we'll have a look at our brain break doc. All right, can you stop writing now, please? And I'm going to copy those. And I'm going to put those into our We'll Decide. Let me pull up We'll Decide. Whoops. Let me just check that you can see the We'll Decide. Okay, great. I'm going to paste those in. Okay, so we'll see how we get on, because some of you have put like listen to a song, do banana dance using music, go bananas. Now, I don't have the music, but you will have them in your class, and these are all great ideas. I don't have any Mozart, or actually I might have some, but we don't have 5 minutes. So let's see if we can find one that we can all do right at the moment. But like I said, your students can add to this document. They can choose their own brain breaks. You could put students into pairs and ask them to choose their own brain break together. You could have them as a group. You could put them into a box where students write the brain breaks, put them in a box, and you pull one out and do any way you want to. But let's have a look and see if we can find a brain. Okay, I won't bother messing with this. I'll just apply the wheel changes. Okay, so I'm going to click to spin, and we'll land on a brain break, and you can tell me you can do this activity. Describing the picture. Okay, so I want you to look out the nearest window where you are, and if you have someone next to you, I want you to describe the picture to them. If you don't have a window, describe the room you are in to the person next to you. If you are alone, just think about it and pause for a moment and think about what you can see. I'll give you 30 seconds. And relax. Okay, good job. So again, as you as a teacher, you might want to select your own brain breaks depending on the activity that you've done. But I think with adult students, they can take control, give them an opportunity to select their own brain breaks. And I'll keep that document open so you can come back and look at this if you want any ideas after today's session. Oh, lovely. Trees, buildings, big and small, plants. Okay, lovely. So that brings us to the end of our session. I want to say thank you to you all for being here and for participating today. There are 3 QR codes here. One is to join our Facebook group. If you haven't already joined our Macmillan Asia Facebook group, please join us, where you'll get more information about webinars and things that are happening. We also have a teachers club, which you can subscribe to, and we'll send you information via email. And we also have a survey. Please complete the survey. It's very important to me so that I can find information about what we can do to help you moving forward, so that we can support and hopefully inspire you in the future. So the survey is really, really important. If you want to contact me directly, my email address is here. If you're really interested in Speak Your Mind and you want more information about that, you can use the link here, or you can email our fantastic team in Thailand. Some of you may already know the guys, and Warissa, who leads us here in Thailand, so you can contact those directly and get information. And I'm going to now look at some of the questions and see if I can answer them. So I just need to scroll back because I don't want to change the okay, I'm just going through some of the questions now. Okay, so one of them, what's the difference between a goal and an aim? I don't think there's really much difference between a goal and an aim, but normally in our classes, when we plan a lesson, we talk about the aims of our classes, but really I think the 2 words are quite interchangeable. I don't think you need to worry too much about that. All right, let me go back. If I missed your question, can you type it again in the box? If you have any questions, I tell you, Leila, can you put them into the box now? And I'm going to stick around here for a few minutes. If you don't have any questions and you're leaving, then please have a safe journey to wherever you are going to, or have a lovely day. It's the middle of the week. The weekend's coming. We're over the hill now. We're into the second part of the week, so enjoy the rest of your week. Very good question. Yes, certificates will be sent to you at the end of the session. We will send you an email where you will receive information about how to access a certificate, and you will get the recording, and you will get the PowerPoint or the slides from today as well. So summarization of personalization. Personalization is doing things in the class that is relevant to the students' lives. I'll give you an example of what personalization isn't. And this is from a course book that I've used in the past. It's not a Macmillan course book, I should say. And it's at the end of an activity, one of the activities at the end of a lesson was, imagine the Queen of England is coming to your house for tea, and you have to prepare a menu. Now, this is not personalized at all, and this is an example of what personalization isn't. I was teaching in Thailand. I was using this material. One, the Queen of England is never going to come to a person in Thailand's house in my class. None of them were ever going to receive a visit from the Queen of England, so there's no reason for them to do the activity. 2, they don't have a tea time like we have in England, which is about 5 o'clock, where we'll have something to eat. This is called tea time. We don't have that in Thailand. So 2 of the things in the activity were irrelevant, and students would do it because they had to, but they weren't interested in doing it because it wasn't about them. So what we want to do with personalization is make activities about them. So an activity like that you would change to, imagine that your auntie is coming for tea. Not tea, but because we don't have tea in Thailand. Imagine your auntie is coming for breakfast. And what would you make for breakfast? Something along those lines. So making it relevant to the students. So why is showing the students the agenda before the lesson starts important? Because it shows them what they're going to do. It gives them an opportunity to think about what they need to do to achieve the goal of the lesson. It's really cool if you can put it on the board. Today we are going to, or today you will leave having done all this. The students are ready, motivated to learn because they know what they're going to focus on. It focuses you on thinking about the students. What are the students going to learn? They're the ones that are coming to the class to learn. You're delivering that to them. If you think about what your students are learning, it changes the way you then write your lesson aims. And it changes your focus and makes you more student-centered, more personalized. Oh, afternoon tea and high tea. Hey, Corapat, you can Google that one. I'll let you Google it. I don't have high tea. I'm not from the upper classes. Hey, but Corapat, if you're in Bangkok and you're ever going for high tea and you want to invite somebody along, then call me. I'm only joking. I think high tea is what I see in kind of really posh hotels with like loads of cakes and little sandwiches and nice Earl Grey tea. Tea for me is just having a sandwich and a cup of tea at 5 o'clock in the evening. So how can the students interest our presentation by using the picture? Well, you have to find out what your students are interested in. So at the start of every course, or not every lesson, but every course, you're going to be doing a needs analysis. You're going to be finding out what students want, what they're interested in, and finding images that are suitable, pictures that are suitable for them, that will hopefully stimulate and interest them. Now you'll see in Speak Your Mind, the images are really cool because they're very bright, they're vivid, but they're not, a lot of the times they're not literal. So students have to think about what's going on in the picture. You might remember the woman at the computer who was very excited. So we can ask questions about that. Why would she be excited? What could have happened? Did she get an email about a job? Did she get an email from a family member, or from a boyfriend or a husband or a son or a daughter? So we can work with these pictures. They're not just literal pictures that we have to describe. And I think that's what creates interest. Coming up with ideas that are different, but also correct. Once in Padlet, you mentioned about clipping your audio. Is there a way that I can clip their voice too? Well, they can add their voice to Padlet just like you can. All they have to do is click on the plus button at the bottom of the screen, record their voice. It says, and then there'll be 3 dots. They click on the 3 dots and it says voice, and you click on voice, and then you record your voice. And you've got chances to save it, or you can then discard and record again. It's very, very simple and easy to do. It really is. That's what I love about it. It's so simple. Well, this is a good question, and based in for primary learners. Today we're talking, like I said, about young adults and adults, but I'm happy to try and answer questions about primary students as well. I think with the provided lesson doesn't suit the levels of my students. So again, this is the thankless task, isn't it, of being a teacher? You have to. You might have a big number of students with a wide variety of levels, and I think what you just have to do is try and do your best to fit your lesson to the levels of your students. So I mean, it really needs to be at the level of the weakest student, and then you need to be able to stretch the strongest students. So whatever you're planning, or whatever lesson material you have, you just have to try and adapt that. And make those weaker students be able to participate and understand. And as I said, stronger students, you need to come up with ways stretching them. This is called differentiation, and this is something that as teachers we need to develop, and it takes time, it takes skill to be able to develop. It's not easy, and I don't have all the answers for you at the moment. Talk to your fellow teachers in the teachers' room. Try and talk to the parents. Maybe they need extra work outside of the lesson as well. Okay, good. Lots of questions. Like I said, I'm happy to stick around. I know we've gone over time, but I'm really happy to stay here and answer any questions that you've got. So I'll keep answering questions for a short while. Okay, this is a good question. Encouraging students who are not participating in collaboration activities. This is where you need a dialogue with the students. You need to make them, or you need to try and find out why this is the case. So as we would do with all our students, we open up a dialogue, we talk to them, we ask them, why are you not participating? Try and find the reason from the students. Try and get them to come up with their own solution. It might be, they might not be collaborating because they don't have the technical ability to collaborate. They might not have Wi-Fi, they might not have internet at home, they might have to share a computer with somebody else. There may be a number of reasons why, so find out why and see if there's any way that you can help. Try and get them, if it's not to do with that, if it's something that they're just not interested in the activities, try and get them to come up with an activity that they would be interested in and use that as one of the collaboration activities as well. So it's all about talking to the students and finding out why. So how can we tackle a problem like when we ask them to personalize, but they have limited vocabulary? Well, we're not asking them to personalize, we're giving them opportunities to personalize. So even if they have limited vocabulary, we can still, even if you're thinking about pre-primary learners, if we're teaching food vocabulary, for example, a way of personalizing, of course, is to ask them if they like or they dislike the food. So even with a limited vocabulary, we're coming up with ways that we can get students to talk about themselves and use that vocabulary. So it's I wouldn't say to a student, right, here's some vocabulary, now personalize it. I would give them a task that I think would be achievable. I would model the task. I would give them an example of the task, and I would scaffold the task to make sure that they could do the task, and then hopefully they would be able to achieve that. So lots and lots of support, lots of help, and lots of scaffolding. Good. Enjoy your high tea, Corapat. I hope it's delicious. Earl Grey tea with lemon or not? My biggest challenge right now is students have different needs. Lesson plan works perfectly for a group of students, but doesn't. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is a common thing, isn't it? I advise you to find out as much as you can about your learners. So within those classes that you teach, it's true, you will have a lesson that goes beautifully, and then they do it in the afternoon with the same level, same group, and it just doesn't work. So you need to find out whether it's a difference in skills, whether it's a difference in language, whether it's a difference in interest. So you really need to find out about your learners, do a needs analysis, make sure you know exactly who they are, and see if that will help you. And also, sometimes this just happens, doesn't it? You do a lesson and it just doesn't work. Similar lesson that you did a week before, perfect. It's life. It's just the way things go. But you might be wanting to think about interaction patterns as well. So you might, in one of the classes, your interaction patterns, you might have strong students working with weak students, which works really well. You might have strong students working together, which works well. So think about mixing up the class itself. So don't, get them into the class, get them sat down, and then say, right, we're going to change seats. They might at the start go, oh, I want to sit next to my friend. Can you just say, well, we're just going to try something. We're just going to do something new. We're going to do it random, and then put them into different seats and see if that helps you. It could be one of the reasons, could be the interaction pattern. Feedback is a good question. So feedback and correction. In fact, is that Desti? If you go to Macmillan Education Asia, let me find a link for you a moment. Just give me a second. I've got a really cool blog for you that's going to explain this to you. Okay, 1 second. Here we go. So this blog that I'm going to send to you right now is entitled "What Error Correction? What, When, Who, and How to Correct," and it deals with those questions that you ask. So when to give feedback. For me, if you're doing an activity that you're checking accuracy, you probably give feedback straight away. You would correct immediately, directly. If you're doing a fluency activity, where students are doing, like I said, maybe a role play, a mill drill, something like that, then you might want to correct at the end and correct indirectly. So you wouldn't be focusing on the person who's making the mistake. You just focus on the mistake and give feedback that way. But have a look at that blog, Desti, and you should have lots of ideas there of how you can give feedback. My pleasure. All right. So a few of you have gone already. So I'm going to stick around. I'm going to stick around for another 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'm going to have my lunch. So if you've got any more questions, fire away. Other than that, you're going to have to email me with your questions. And please, please, please complete the survey. Oh, I'll put the survey into the chat box. Uh-oh. I should have done that earlier. Daisy, why didn't you remind me? Here's the link to the survey. Please, please, please complete the survey. It's very important to us. Suggestions on websites that help make interactive games. Not really. It's not an area that I've actually dealt with, building my own games. We have a wonderful, if we're teaching primary learners, we have a wonderful program called Navio, which is a gamified learning environment for our primary learners. So I can send you a link to Navio, which is fantastic. Let me just pull that up. It's a great digital platform that you might be interested in. And as I think you're from Vietnam, you might want to contact the team there in Vietnam. But you can contact me directly or the Thai team, and they'll put you in touch as well. Let me just pull up my... Where have I gone? So this is our digital for primary learners. But if you're thinking about interactive games, we already have something there for teachers and for students already produced. Yeah, I think writing learning objectives on the board is a great way to engage students, to get them to know what they're going to do. Why do we need to make it a surprise for them? They can come into the classroom. If they come to the classroom early, why don't you go to the classroom 5 minutes before, write the learning objectives on the board, so when students come in, they can see what they're going to do. Maybe they can have a quick look in their book. So they're primed and ready to go. Imagine you were studying yourself. You probably want to know what you're going to do in the next lesson, and it will help you. Why not? Every class, why not? Get students can then take a photo and then know what they're supposed to have achieved that lesson. All right, if there's anything else, you're going to have to contact me directly. But thank you all very, very much for your time. Like I said, please look after yourselves. Have a safe journey if you're traveling anywhere after today's session. If not, enjoy the rest of your week. And I will hope to see you again in the future. Stand by. We're going to have some webinars, I think, in November with a wider Asia team. So please look out for those. And thank you again for your time and your participation. Take care. Bye.